Growing up was a typical childhood, I think, in most regards, but there were things that weren't so typical. I heard about God and the religious aspect of it all, but it didn't really play any part in my life growing up as a child.
So my parents were Hindu. My mom also had a bit of a background in the Christian faith through things she had learned in Guyana when missionaries would come to visit her family and read the Bible and share about Jesus. I wouldn't say that faith or religion played a significant part of my life growing up as a child.
You know, through most of my life I knew of the story of Easter, of the story of Jesus resurrecting. It was never, it was never anything shocking. It was never anything to be super grateful for. It was never anything that really had an impact. It was just another story that I learned at church or at school.
When I was 16, I got kicked out of my home. Then I moved in with my grandmother, and from there I just got a job and went to college.
So in my teens, my late teens and my early 20s, I spent a lot of time reading about God, I guess seeking to know about God, through intellectual study. I'd read books, both scripture and commentaries on Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity.
God wired me with logic, and that logic kept me from God due to my own pride for years.
I pledged to a sorority, and from there I went and met a lady that was an honorary in our sorority who was a Christian woman. When she told me about Jesus and how he forgives, and I remember thinking she was crazy because I told her about my abuse growing up in my family.
So I started attending church here at the Crossings, and God was revealing himself to me, but he still wasn't really an active part of my life at this point. And what it took for me was I had to get out of the environment I was in.
Things quite literally were falling apart all around me. It was a very, very dark place, a very, very hollow feeling, I would say. Some people that I had known just started showing up.
I remember her looking at me and telling me that because of things I've shared with her about my past, that God could also forgive someone like me and the things that I have done. That's the first time I've ever heard those words.
He had been revealing himself in steps through the way, and like I said, I'm logical. So I saw them and took note, but I didn't give them the credit of what they actually were. And it was that night in Bastrop, Texas, in my bedroom, that I put the pieces together in my head and saw Jesus for the first time.
So last Easter was my first visit to the Crossings, and I came at the invitation of a friend. On that day, I heard things, both through worship, through message, that I hadn't really heard or thought about before. Definitely caught my attention, and I left that day just feeling more than ever that there was something special happening here with me. Something transformative that I didn't quite understand yet, but I was going to keep coming back to find out.
I had asked a couple people to come over from the Crossings. That was the night that it just all made sense to me. I thought church was for good people, and I knew I was not that person. I realized what God had done for us, and that my sins could truly be forgiven.
And it was that night finally that I saw that he loved me, that he died for me, and that he resurrected.
I was having a conversation with somebody one day at a coffee shop, and a few of us actually were there, and we were joking around, and I made the comment, I don't remember what the context was, but I said something to the effect of, yeah, well, Jesus was like the coolest person who ever lived. And somebody said back, yeah, cool enough to follow. And I realized in that moment, like, yeah, like I'm there. I didn't say anything in that moment, but I knew in that moment that I was there.